You know, guys, we always on Ignite, nearly every time we've got to talk about HIPAA compliant marketing and yada, yada, yada. This time we don't, but we still get to talk a lot about brand and consumer experience and how to attract really cute clients. So this is going to be a blast. Jennifer, welcome to Ignite. What's going on?
Thank you. Well, it's a chilly day here in New York, but happy to be here and looking forward to talking about an exciting category that so many people are passionate about. They love their animals and, you know, just like kids these days. So yeah, it's a fun category to talk on.
Yeah. And we won't be talking about how to find the animal's care. We work with a lot of vet groups on the care side. We get to talk about how to put them into a resort.
Correct.
Fun. Man, when we talk about pet resorts, like I just go straight to like, are they staying in the Cancun Maya or the Rosewood Mayakoba or where are they staying? Anyways.
There is a range.
There is a range.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about it in a minute. And Jennifer, tell our 5 listeners.
Yep.
Where have you hailed from? And even before NVA and stuff like that and your kind of experience.
Sure. So I have about 15-ish plus years of marketing experience. I actually started my career in retail at Target. So it really got a great grounding in brand, customer experience, like how you tie business strategy to consumer needs and wants. From there, transitioned into CPG at Chobani. So that was a great other very customer passionate brand, talking about stories and a great founder story. And then have also had experience at Marriott in the hospitality space, kind of thinking globally how you transition brand stories to both large scale messaging to get consumer awareness as well as local plays, which really transitioned nicely into the work at NVA. Pet care, pet resorts, it is a blend of hospitality, service, and customer experience, both for the pet as well as for the human caregiver. And so it was a great way to kind of blend all that experience into the role.
I love it. And so you've been around very different industries. At the end of the day, it's all client acquisition.
Yeah.
NVA may be a little different because it's local. No, same as the hospitality stuff. You're just dealing with OTAs instead of some other issues. And they probably had with the pet resort aggregators and stuff like that. So that's fun. And tell us a little bit. We'll focus on the NBA thing because that's more relevant to our 5 listeners than anything else. I loved, by the way, hotel marketing. We used to have a bunch of hotel. It was very, very fun. And happy to be in healthcare. So tell us a little bit about NBA. What was the purview there and what was the size? And then we'll start talking about marketing tactics, strategy, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. NVA, it's a vet services roll-up, and the bulk of their ownership is in actually the veterinary healthcare space. So traditional general vets, emergency vets, and specialty vets. The resort business was significantly a smaller footprint, but still a really strong business. And we had about 160 resorts nationwide. About half were under the Pet Suites of America umbrella, and the other half were mom and pop brands that had been acquired over the years. We ran them holistically under one marketing team that did acquisition, paid media, website, search social, that sort of thing. And then the local resorts were responsible for kind of promoting themselves with their own Facebook accounts, own Instagram accounts, local events. We helped feed them information through Sprout Social, etc. But they were really the ones humanizing the brand at the local level to kind of day-to-day interact with their communities.
Yeah, awesome. Why did NBA embark upon this? Instead of just building out more clinics, why did we go resort? Did we think it's a continuum of care? The resort, okay, healthy. And then when they have a need, they're going to go to the clinics. What was the thinking and did it work?
Yeah, I would say it's a space ripe for streamlining, I would say. Pet resorts, pet care, dog daycare, boarding, training. And when I say pet resorts, just to be clear, boarding, training, grooming, daycare, and then some retail.
Okay.
It's a hugely fragmented space. And so there's a lot of opportunity to apply the same business practices of what you see in the private equity world of vet center acquisition to the resort space, bringing in super tight operations, helping on acquisition and sale, material costs for build outs of kennels and infrastructure. So I think they just saw it as a really great service line extension and ultimately something that complemented their services.
Do you think it worked?
I think that within the markets that we were in, it worked greatly. I think we were just on the cusp of having market, like not penetration, but in some markets like Houston, Dallas, some of the southern states, we had a lot of presence. And so we had really strong performance there. And honestly, great performance across all our resorts. Whether or not it's something that, it's just a tough category because there are so many small, tiny ones that our teams did a great job, extremely high, pet care quality, which I think is really, really important. So I think on that front, our employees loved working for us. The pet care was top notch. And, we had really strong reviews for the consumer. So in that front, it absolutely worked.
Yeah. And it feels good to work for a good group. When you feel good that MBA is delivering, it's like, that makes it fun to go to work.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case, especially, I love the private equity roll-ups. That's our entire business. It's not always the case that the care is delivered. So that doesn't feel a good thing. It sounds like the marketing team was running both sides, resort and clinics. Tell us a little bit about what the marketing mix was digitally. I'm sure there's lots of boots on the ground stuff.
Yeah. So, and just to take a step back, within NVA, my team solely focused on pet resorts. And so there was a whole nother team that focused on general practice and then spec ER. So we shared agency support. We shared a lot of back of house information, but our teams were generally separate.
Got it.
And there was some overlap, and there was starting to be more hand-holding around cross-promotion, getting veterinarian offices aware of our services. And there was a lot of that happening ad hoc anyway. If somebody needed overflow for boarding, we would absolutely support. But that was just really beginning as I was exiting.
Gotcha. Different internal team for accountability, same agency. Very interesting. And what was the mix on your side? What did you find to be really useful? And then we'll talk a little bit about the tactics that did not work out so well.
So I had an amazing digital team. And so I had a woman running really all the media, the paid search, paid social website, and a lot of the social media. And she had really deep experience in that space. And that, I would say, paid search social was so effective for us, partly because I think, that's where a lot of people are looking, but absolutely, I give credit to the team and their skill set for really thinking critically around using consumer insights to tweak messaging, to tweak kind of timing of when ads would be placed, all those things too. It was very, as segmented as our business was, they did a great job of customizing it and in the most efficient way possible. And it really drove.
And I know you mentioned also that they were able to split out national and local messaging and all that. Was that part of what you were just mentioning? And sorry, I cut you off like a schmuck.
No. So nationally, we really focused on kind of big picture themes, we call the Super Bowl, like spring break, summer travel. We focused on acquisition, promoting those upcoming travel seasons, membership rollout, if we were launching new programs. And then we would help provide toolkits and resources to the resorts that they could promote via their local channel, whether it be email or social media, et cetera. So it was definitely a blend of we helped get people in the door with lead gen, and then they use their own resources to kind of bring them across the finish line.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds like you had an internal team of 52. You mentioned there was a woman that was running the digital stuff. What everybody always wants to know, how did Jennifer do it? What does the team makeup look like? Walk us through that. And then I'm going to get back to the digital acquisitions.
Yeah. So we had about 9 people at the headquarters level. One kind of group was focused on the digital side. And so responsible for paid media, website management, social media plans. And she had a team beneath her that was both doing tactical work as well as analytics to make sure that we were always just delivering the best marketing possible. And then another team that focused more on the brand management and the go-to-market plans for the membership testing, some the other the seasonal campaigns. So that's kind of how the team was split.
Yeah. And so that's interesting. It wasn't total by function. It's not like we had one marketing ops person and then we had one person on messaging and creative. You kind of split. Yeah, you built it on a little different. That's cool.
There was a lot of hand holding, a lot of, everybody kind of jumped in and helped when needed. But yeah, it worked pretty well for the setup at the time. Yeah.
And what part, okay, so you mentioned the digital acquisition stuff, a lot of advertising work, SEO work. I mean, there's a ton of competitors in your space. Tell me a little bit about the competitive influence, top and bottom. You get it from the national, the local, like what did that look like? Because then I want to segue into how did you use, can social differentiate? How did you guys differentiate? But first, let's talk about the competitive set of what you were up against, because we debriefed earlier and this, you had some really cool insights I want everyone to hear.
Yeah. So I would say from a competitive perspective, there was a handful of national competitors, Camp Bow Wow, that sort of thing, that we always kind of spoke to, right? That we tried to speak against. But then our resorts did a phenomenal job of comp shopping, and they had in-market information about exactly who their competitors were, because a resort is maybe similar to like a child daycare. You're not going to travel 15 miles out of your way to go to a resort. It needs to be probably on your way to work, on your way to school. Like it needs to be in a path. And there might be 2 resorts near you, but one might be kind of, value and one might be more luxury. And so we need to understand who actually we need to be talking to. And so we would actually take that kind of cut and dry national list of competitors and then integrate all these local secondary market competitors to get very locally specific about our ad work. So again, hats off to the team. Our agency were great partners too, but it was extremely customized.
Yeah, that's an incredible. And I love it. Comp shopping. I hadn't heard that. I heard secret shopping. That's a good one. That's a new one. What were they doing? Calling in and saying, hey, listen, I just moved. What's this? All right. Very cool. Got it. And so the players, the competitive side can be national players, but you also mentioned to me earlier, could also be like travel partnerships and stuff like, tell me about, this was super cool. You mentioning this, because a lot of times marketers don't think your competition can come from some different places. What's one of those places?
Yeah. I think generally just the landscape, and it's something that I thought about a lot at when I was at Marriott too, or that I brought with me from Marriott, that, hotels realize that people want to travel with their pets. And so more and more hotels are becoming pet friendly. They're creating experiences, services, so people can actually travel with their pets, which didn't used to be the case years ago. So I think just generally there's more hospitality within the hospitality space to have animals on property. But again, Rover is in that space, even like Facebook Marketplace. You can find places that are offering pet services in many, many different places. And so I think I was kind of mentioning this to you, the Uber Delta partnership, nothing's been said yet, but Uber has such an incredible database of information, of customer history. I think merging that with a Delta partner, what other tangential services is somebody like that going to offer someday? Is it going to be pet pickup drop off to a daycare or to Delta's premier pet transport business? I think it's really interesting to see kind of where the space goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you're listening, maybe it could be you that's chosen as the partner. So it's really cool to think of new activations and partnerships that could really skyrocket a business. That's very cool. And being Atlanta based and loving Uber.
Yes.
That was awesome to hear that. That makes my life easier. And you get medallion qualification dollars from the Uber thing. So makes my life easier. Kids don't have to fly on the back of the bus, which they complain about every effing time we get on a plane, spoiled brats. And then we talk a little bit about sometimes marketers, we don't think a marketing director will say, hey, listen, I got to do X, Y, and Z so I can hit my lead acquisition targets, yada, 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 and doesn't think about the macro factors. In 25, you had an interesting perspective on what 2025 could look like economically and how that could impact things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. End of day, it's been interesting to watch that, when I was growing up, our pets were pets, and it's really swung to, younger generations are having children later or not having children at all, and they're using their animals as an alternative substitute. And however, I think that pets are very expensive as well. Pet food, vet care, daycare. And so it would not surprise me if there was less of a humanization trend in 2025. And we swung back to a point where people don't feel the need to put their animal in a daycare or spend the most in a resort setting. And instead, the puppy's going to be fine being home for a day by itself, or, we'll just have the neighbor kid for $10, walk it. And so I think there could be, and just like macroeconomic factors that who knows how things are going to play out this year. I think people might just be thinking about spending their money a little bit differently, and maybe their pet will continue to take a little bit more of a second place over other needs in their life. It'll swing back to more of a want versus a need.
And I love how you're thinking. I mean, this is like CMO style thinking when you think about the macroeconomic factors, and then you're correlating that into what is the business strategy, and then marketing will enact that. But if we want to sit at the same level, CEO, CO, CFO, like we have to say macro is going to be this. What if they're going to go downstream, right? And maybe they're going to just have somebody watch the kid. What if we have entry-level offers? What if we build out a satellite thing that is no frills? Like, that's very cool. And I love that Jennifer is looking at the macro stuff, because that could inform a wedge that any kind of business could get into to stay alive and just try to get every type of client, whether it's down funnel, down on the socio status or not. So I think that's really cool. And I wish more marketers thought about what the economy is doing before we just start trying to hit lead acquisition targets. You also mentioned about society changing a little bit. What is something you've seen on marketing that's totally changed, like the way you think and probably the messaging and how you go to market with any of these businesses you've worked on?
Yeah, I think now more than ever, people are social media and everything digital is like a blessing and a curse, right? We can reach so many people so quickly, but people also can end up being very emotional online because there's no emotion there, right? And so it's almost more important now than ever before to be building true relationships with your customer, making sure the customer experience is there ahead of time in a retail space if you have brick and mortar, and being more than having a voice beyond just selling to somebody. Because something that we found was we spent a lot of time on reputation management because we had a lot of customers that were absolutely thrilled with what we did and their pet care. But once in a while you would get somebody that was pretty upset. And the way that those can amplify, right or wrong, it can be really detrimental to a business. And I think that the algorithms are only getting smarter to get people to engage, right or wrong. And so that's something that I think about is kind of, I call it paying it forward with messaging and customer experience. So the farther out ahead you can get with building goodwill with people, that will just anchor people into your brand and your product in a healthy way. They'll be less likely to kind of go to that negative mindset.
I like what you're saying, Jennifer. And yes, social media is the biggest blessing and curse that has happened to society. There's no doubt. And everybody has about a 3-second time span. I like where your head is at. Go back to running the business the right way, as if there was no social media. Treat your employees right. Treat the clients right. Do great follow-up. Make sure the client experience when they come in the office matches you said online. I love that. And then you have deep roots within the community, and one negative Nancy doesn't bring the whole ship down. Yeah, very cool. I think this year could be the year of let's go back to running good businesses. Yeah. And a lot of the marketing stuff will take care of itself.
Because it doesn't matter, if you're generating 1,000 leads, but you don't have time to follow up with any of them.
Yep.
All you're doing is you're annoying all the people that took the time to submit an email, and then you never hear from them, right? And so maybe focus in and actually try. They don't have to be handwritten notes every week, but there are things that you can do to be authentic.
Yes, absolutely. And that drives me crazy when when the feedback loop is not there. It bugs me. There's a lot of technology out there that can help you. And guys, you keep blaming your marketers and your marketing agencies for not enough leads. 9 times out of 10, it is not our fault, nor the in-house marketer's fault. It is your call center's fault or somebody else's fault, knobs that drove too many leads to places with no capacity. FYI, Jennifer. Okay, one more question. What are you most excited about this year, marketing trend or otherwise?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I'm kind of excited to see with TikTok. I know TikTok is back.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see, I think there's going to be a little bit more pushback in digital. And I think that especially younger generations are really interested in experiences, physical media, just walking around the city. There's so much more out of home and there's so many more pop-ups. And I just think that I really hope that there's more of a focus on connection in real life or just authentic communication and conversation with people beyond just Facebook ads. So that's something that I'm really hopeful for.
Yeah, experiential marketing.
Yeah.
Back in vogue.
Back in vogue.
I love it.
And I think there's enough tools now that
you can track it.
You can track it.
Yeah.
You can validate the importance of it. You can prove the business worth. And it doesn't have to be, fireworks on top of a building. It can be something tiny, but I think there is some interesting now. I think old is going to be new again.
Yeah, just like me, not you. Me.
Well,
I meant me.
the light's good right now.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, the cholesterol deposits in my eyes. I'm with you, dude. The digital stuff is so overwhelming. I was sitting watching TV the other night. We were watching Landman, and I got served an ad on Paramount for HIPAA compliant software. That's how specific they're getting, even on the TV through out of out, right? Like OTT. They serve me HIPAA compliance.
It's crazy.
Right? And so I think you're absolutely right. At some point, we just want to get the hell away from all these devices and experience a brand in person. Thank you.
Yes, thank
Jennifer,
you.
for the first
Alex, it was a pleasure.
non-AI answer on the trend. We went the other way with it. I love it.
Awesome.